At 67 years old, most people believe the body is already slowing down for good. They think the heavy stomach, constant fatigue, stiff joints, and low energy are simply part of aging. But what many never realize is that the real danger is not age itself. It is the invisible fat stored deep inside the body, wrapped around vital organs, silently damaging health every single day. This visceral fat does not just change appearance. It changes the entire body from the inside out. It affects blood sugar, blood pressure, heart function, hormones, sleep quality, inflammation, and even mental clarity. Millions of older adults wake up every morning feeling tired without understanding what is truly happening inside them. They blame aging while the real problem continues growing silently. The frightening part is that visceral fat often hides in plain sight. A person may not even look severely overweight and still carry dangerous amounts of internal fat around the liver, pancreas, and intestines. That hidden fat becomes like a slow poison. It keeps the body inflamed. It increases cravings. It destroys energy levels. It weakens muscles. And over time, it steals confidence. Many older adults stop believing their body can ever change again. They begin accepting exhaustion as normal. They stop expecting improvement because every failed diet in the past convinced them nothing works anymore. But something powerful happens when a person finally understands that the body is still capable of transformation, even after 60. The human body is designed to respond when it is given the right conditions. Age may slow the process slightly, but it does not stop the body from healing. What truly matters is whether the body remains trapped in the cycle of inflammation, insulin spikes, poor recovery, and constant stress. Once that cycle is broken, the body can begin changing far faster than most people imagine. In just 28 days, dramatic changes can begin taking place internally, not because of starvation, not because of impossible workouts, not because of dangerous shortcuts. Real transformation starts when the body stops storing fat in survival mode and begins using it for energy again. This is why so many people fail with extreme diets. They attack the body instead of supporting it. But when the body feels safe, nourished, rested, and active in the right way, it responds powerfully. The truth is that many people over 60 are carrying decades of unhealthy patterns without even noticing them. Late night eating, poor sleep, constant sitting, sugar-loaded foods, stress, and lack of movement slowly train the body to hold on to visceral fat. Over time, the metabolism becomes sluggish, and the body enters a state where fat burning nearly shuts down. But the encouraging reality is that the body can adapt quickly once those patterns change. Even a few weeks of consistency can begin reducing inflammation, improving circulation, stabilizing blood sugar, and activating natural fat-burning processes again. This is not about chasing perfection. It is about proving that the body is never truly finished. At 67, transformation is still possible. Energy can return. Strength can rebuild. Mental clarity can improve. The stomach can shrink. And most importantly, hope can come back. The moment a person understands that visceral fat is not permanent, everything changes. Because the body may be older, but it is still listening to every decision made each day. For years, many older adults are told that weight gain after 60 is unavoidable. They hear that metabolism slows down, hormones change, and the body simply cannot burn fat the way it once did. While there is some truth to those physical changes, the biggest misunderstanding is believing the body stops responding completely. The reality is that the body is always responding to daily habits, especially after the age of 60. The difference is that the body becomes more sensitive. Every meal, every hour of sleep, every movement, and every stressful moment either pushes the body toward healing or deeper into fat storage. That is why the United States protocol that helped eliminate visceral fat in just 28 days focused on restoring balance instead of forcing punishment on the body. It was not based on starvation diets or exhausting exercise routines. It was based on giving the body the exact conditions it needs to begin releasing stored internal fat naturally. The first major shift came from controlling blood sugar spikes. Most people never realize how often their body stays trapped in fat storage mode because of processed foods, sugary drinks, refined carbohydrates, and constant snacking. When blood sugar rises repeatedly throughout the day, insulin levels remain high, and the body struggles to burn visceral fat efficiently. Once meals became cleaner, more balanced, and properly timed, the body started stabilizing internally. Protein intake improved, processed sugar decreased, hydration increased. Meals became more intentional instead of emotional or random. These simple adjustments helped reduce inflammation and allowed the metabolism to function more effectively again. The body no longer felt like it was constantly fighting for survival. Movement also became a powerful part of the transformation, but not in the extreme way many people expect. Long, exhausting workouts were never the focus. Instead, the goal was consistency. Daily walking, light resistance movements, stretching, and improving circulation helped wake the body up again. After 60, the body responds better to sustainable movement than punishment. Gentle but consistent activity helps muscles absorb glucose more efficiently, improves insulin sensitivity, increases energy production, and signals the body to begin using stored fat as fuel. Combined with improved sleep and lower stress levels, the internal environment of the body started changing rapidly. The result was not just visible weight loss. It was a complete shift in how the body functioned from the inside. Energy improved, cravings weakened, mental clarity became sharper, and most importantly, the dangerous visceral fat surrounding the organs finally began shrinking. What made the transformation so shocking was not just the physical change visible on the outside, but the changes happening deep inside the body. Within the first week, energy levels already began improving. Simple daily activities no longer felt exhausting. The heavy feeling in the stomach started decreasing, and the constant sluggishness that had been present for years slowly began fading away. This happens because visceral fat is not inactive tissue. It behaves almost like a toxic organ inside the body, releasing inflammatory chemicals that interfere with normal function every single day. When that internal fat begins shrinking, the body immediately experiences relief. Blood circulation improves. Oxygen delivery becomes more efficient. The heart does not have to work as hard. Even sleep quality can improve because the body is under less metabolic stress. Many older adults do not realize how much hidden fat affects their daily life until it finally starts disappearing. By the second and third week, the body often enters a completely different state. Cravings begin losing their power because blood sugar becomes more stable. Instead of needing constant snacks or sugary foods for energy, the body starts accessing stored fat more efficiently. This is one of the biggest turning points in visceral fat reduction. The body finally stops depending on quick bursts of sugar and begins using its own stored energy reserves. Mental clarity also becomes stronger during this phase. Brain fog decreases, focus improves, motivation returns. This happens because chronic inflammation begins lowering and insulin resistance slowly improves. Many people believe stubborn belly fat is only about appearance, but the truth is that it is deeply connected to the body's entire metabolic system. Once that system begins recovering, everything starts improving together. The body moves better, thinks better, and feels stronger. By the end of the 28 days, the transformation becomes impossible to ignore. The stomach often appears flatter, clothes fit differently, and movement feels lighter and easier. But the biggest victory is the emotional shift that takes place internally. Confidence begins returning because the body is finally responding again. For many older adults, this is the first time in years they feel hope instead of frustration. They realize they are not trapped by their age. They are not permanently broken. Their body simply needed the right conditions to heal. The reduction of visceral fat is not just about looking younger. It is about reducing the dangerous pressure placed on the organs every day. It is about lowering inflammation, supporting heart health, improving mobility, and reclaiming independence. That is why this kind of transformation becomes so powerful. It proves that even after decades of unhealthy patterns, the body still has the ability to rebuild itself when given consistency, patience, and the right daily habits. One of the biggest reasons visceral fat becomes so dangerous after 60 is because many harmful habits start feeling normal. People wake up tired and assume it is simply age. They lose strength and believe the body is naturally shutting down. They gain weight around the stomach year after year and accept it as unavoidable. But in many cases, the real issue is not aging itself. It is the daily routine silently training the body to store more fat and burn less energy. One of the worst mistakes is constant inactivity. Sitting for long hours slows circulation, weakens muscles, reduces insulin sensitivity, and signals the body to conserve fat instead of using it. The human body was designed to move consistently, especially as it gets older. Without movement, metabolism becomes slower and inflammation grows stronger. Over time, the body becomes trapped in a cycle where energy decreases, movement becomes harder, and fat storage increases even more. Another major mistake is relying on foods that appear healthy but secretly damage metabolism. Many packaged foods labeled low-fat, heart-healthy, or diet-friendly are loaded with hidden sugars, refined carbohydrates, and artificial ingredients that spike insulin levels repeatedly throughout the day. After 60, the body often becomes less efficient at handling these blood sugar spikes. That means even small, unhealthy habits can create significant fat storage problems over time. Frequent snacking late at night, sugary drinks, processed breakfast foods, and emotional eating all place stress on the body's metabolic system. The body begins storing excess energy deep around vital organs because it no longer feels stable internally. This is why so many older adults struggle to lose belly fat despite believing they are eating reasonably well. The issue is not always how much food is being consumed. It is often the quality, timing, and metabolic impact of those foods. Stress and poor sleep also play a far bigger role than most people realize. Chronic stress keeps cortisol levels elevated, and high cortisol signals the body to store more visceral fat, especially around the stomach area. At the same time, poor sleep disrupts hunger hormones, increases cravings, lowers recovery, and weakens the body's natural fat-burning ability. Many older adults live in a constant state of physical and mental exhaustion without understanding how deeply it affects metabolism. When the body feels stressed and sleep deprived, it behaves like it is in survival mode. Fat burning slows down because the body prioritizes protection instead of repair. That is why motivation often disappears. The problem is not laziness. The body itself becomes overwhelmed internally. But once stress decreases, sleep improves, and inflammation begins lowering, the body starts responding differently again. Energy returns, movement feels easier, and the process of reducing visceral fat becomes far more natural and sustainable. At 67 years old, the greatest transformation was not simply the loss of visceral fat. It was the return of belief. For many people, years of struggling with weight, fatigue, stiffness, and low confidence slowly convince them that change is no longer possible. They begin surviving instead of truly living. Every day starts feeling predictable. Low energy in the morning, discomfort throughout the day, poor sleep at night, and the constant frustration of feeling trapped inside a body that no longer responds. But when the body finally begins healing, something much deeper changes inside the mind. Hope returns. The person who once believed their best years were behind them suddenly realizes the body still has the power to rebuild, recover, and grow stronger. That realization alone can completely change the direction of a person's life. The most powerful part of this transformation is understanding that it did not require perfection. It did not depend on impossible workouts, starvation diets, or dangerous shortcuts. The change came from simple actions repeated consistently every single day. Better sleep, better movement, cleaner nutrition, reduced stress. Proper hydration? These small habits may appear ordinary, but together they create a completely different internal environment inside the body. Over time, the body begins responding with more energy, clearer thinking, improved mobility, and reduced inflammation. The stomach becomes smaller, but more importantly, the organs experience less pressure and stress. Walking becomes easier. Breathing feels lighter. Confidence grows stronger. And with every small improvement, motivation naturally increases because the body finally starts rewarding effort again. This is the message so many older adults need to hear today. The body is not finished after 60. It is not too late after 67. Aging does not automatically mean weakness, exhaustion, or decline. The human body is incredibly adaptive, even later in life. What matters most is the direction taken every day. Small, disciplined actions may seem insignificant at first, but over weeks and months, they can completely reshape health from the inside out. Visceral fat is dangerous because it silently steals energy, health, and quality of life. But it is not unbeatable. The moment a person decides to stop feeding the habits that created the problem and start supporting the body consistently, change becomes possible again. And sometimes, all it takes is 28 focused days to prove that transformation is still within reach.